It's no secret that stress can actually wreck your whole emotional well being. It can also affect you physically. And sometimes it can go beyond just affecting you physically in terms of aches and pains. It can make you really sick, literally. In the world that we live in, we're so fast paced, everything is always on the go. Things happen in our lives, situations that we find ourselves in can stress us. It can be a daily, constant battle. Today on The Wall of Inspiration, Wellington shows you how to turn your stress into motivation. Another week and more motivation to disseminate into the African continent and beyond. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the Well of Inspiration. And as always, Wellington is crafting messages for you to inspire you, to uplift you, to motivate you, to help you put things into perspective and teaching you different things, strategies that you can implement for yourself, for those around you, and for your business. Wellington, hi and welcome.
Hi, Don. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very, very well.
Fantastic, fantastic. This episode is very interesting for me because of the way that we live in today's world and the things that affect us. I'll let you talk about this episode and, just tell our viewers what we're going through with this episode of The Well of Inspiration.
Okay, now thank you for that. So you know what? As I always do, I glean lessons from some of the experiences that I encounter every day, and one of the things that I've seen that is affecting a lot of us nowadays is stress. There's so much talk about mental health and stress and depression and the mental health conditions that are affecting many of us, especially those of us who are high achievers who want to do things in their lives, even those who may not be very high achievers, but who also, everybody has some aspiration, some goal, some dream, some difference you want to make in this world, be it to the world that you're living in or to the families that you live with every single day. So stress is a common factor that we all get to encounter, that we all get to deal with. And I just thought that today we take some time to look at stress and figure out what we can do to turn stress into motivation, to put a positive spin on every stressful element of our lives, to try and figure out what we can do to turn this and draw some energy from it and actually utilize it to push ourselves forward in the best way that we can. So it's all about turning stress into motivation.
And I think it's something that is so needed, Wellington. People are stressed. Life is difficult, and turning that stress into motivation can literally save your life.
Absolutely. And even experts are chiming in on this. There's a gentleman who's an author called an expert in the field of psychology. His name is Justin Menkes, and he says, we live in a world of worry, ongoing worry, change and uncertainty, and we just have to get used to it. It's like we don't really have a choice. We will encounter it one way or another. If you're working in a job, something is going to happen that will stress you out. If you've got a family, something is definitely going to happen that will stress you out. If you are in a relationship, my friend, something is going to happen that will stress you out. If you are the family provider, the one with the financial means to provide, trust me, your finances, one day something will happen that will stress you. Stress is just happening all around us. If you drive a car every day to go from point A to point B, trust me, some stress is going to creep in at a certain point. So stress is all around us, and we have to acknowledge its presence, and we've got to be able to figure out how to deal with it. I was reading about an author called Sean Anker, who says that stress is an inevitable part of work and life, but the effect of stress upon us is far from inevitable. So stress is inevitable, but the effect of stress is not necessarily inevitable. In other words, we have a choice at a certain point to figure out what we can do with the stress that we encounter. And that is where the power really comes from. Because once you figure out what to do with the stress, then you become in control. You are now in charge. You do not react to the stress, you respond to it. You figure out the best ways to approach the situation that will, as much as possible, put a positive spin on it and spur you forwards towards your goals, your dreams, and whatever it is you're aspiring to do.
Fantastic, Wellington. So as we begin this episode, stress, motivation, how do we turn it from being that stressful situation into that motivational situation?
You know what, when I speak about stress, I always want to put this disclaimer that I'm by no means a trained expert in the area of psychology or anything like that. So I really just share with you experiences that I believe will be useful for you. But if you're finding yourself having some kind of disorder that needs medical intervention, please seek the necessary help, okay? That's very important for me to mention that. Now, as we talk about stress, here's the one thing that I want you to think about. When next time you're stressed, recognize stress for what it really is. Stress is just a feeling. But what it really is that you care so much about a certain situation that it is having this effect on you. It is making you feel these feelings of stress towards the situation. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't be feeling like that. So the positive spin to take on this is that, listen, you are stressed about this situation, but what it means is that you care. There are things in your life that you care about so much that when things don't go the way that they're supposed to go, you feel this level of tension. Why? Because as a human being, you care. And I think being a caring human being is far much better than being a human being who doesn't care about anything, where things can just happen around you and you just don't care. You lose the money, you just don't care. You make money, you just don't care. Something goes wrong with the family, you just don't care. You lose a relationship, you just don't care. Things are not working around you and you just don't care. How can you be an effective contributor as a human being to mankind if you just don't care? That's why I say that stress can be taken positively, because as long as you stress about something, it means you care about something.
Very interesting, Wellington. I like this. Recognizing the worry for what it is. And that actually just means that you care about something. And the fact that you care shows that positive emotion to it as well. Caring is a positive emotion.
Absolutely. So you should take it as an indicator. It's an indicator that something is not working the way that it's supposed to be. But don't take it negatively as if it's a disaster. Something has gone wrong and it's a sign of dysfunction for you as a person because you're stressed out. No, it simply means that you care about something, and at this particular point in time, things are not working out the way that you want them to, and you still have the power to do something about that situation to bring it to wherever you want it to be. And if you really don't have the power to do anything about it, maybe you can seek for assistance to help the situation become what you want it to be. So take stress as an indicator of something not working well and not as a sign of dysfunction. Okay, so this is when we think about recognizing stress for what it really is.
This is very interesting, Wellington, because when we look at stress, we look at the situation just being difficult. It's difficult. But the fact that you've said, you care about it. The only reason that you're feeling something is because you care about the situation. And the fact that you care already gives you that indicator that you can change it to something positive. And I love that aspect of this point that you're bringing forward.
Absolutely. And one thing I have to mention is that sometimes when you feel stressed out, it feels like this feeling is never ending. It's like it's never going to end. But you know what? Feelings by nature are time bound. Sooner or later, you will feel differently. So never assume that this stress is going to last forever. Recognize that it will not last forever. Okay, so the next thing that I want us to think about is we also want, as an individual, to consider reframing the stress. Reframe the situation. When something negative happens and it causes you to feel these feelings of stress, consider reframing the stress. Reframe it. Number one, think about it positively, like we said in the beginning. But number two, explore the opportunities that are coming with the stress. Figure out that this is happening because there's a possibility for me to move from where I am to where I want to be. If I was not making progress, I probably would not be stressed. Reframe it. Consider the stress being a sign that you are going to a level you've never gone to before, and therefore it is natural for your system to react in the way it's reacting, which means to say that you're progressing, you're advancing, and by progressing and advancing, you're becoming a better version of yourself and moving closer to the best version of yourself. So this stress is actually welcome, because with the stress, as you go past the stress, you find yourself on the other side of the equation, which is where you really want to be.
So it's also how you're looking at the situation that you're in and looking at the different elements that could actually become opportunities for you, because you are progressing, like you say, if you're stressed. So it's looking at those elements within this stress and trying to pull the best elements and allowing you to progress further.
Absolutely. And when you are thinking negatively about stress, then your brain goes into this fight or flight mode, where the stress hormone cortisol is very activated in your system. But when you think about it positively, you are calmer. When you're reframing it, you are observing the opportunities coming through the stress. When our minds operate in a positive space, when your brain is thinking positively about something, it calms down the entire nervous system, and it allows you to think clearly about what you're dealing with. And when you go through that, it then allows you to turn the stress into a positive spin that allows you to increase your power and motivation towards achieving your goals and your dreams. So reframe the stress. Whatever's going on, just reframe it. And you reframe it because you've got control of your mind and you know exactly what can be done to spin this positively. All the answers we need in the world are not out there. They are within us. Only if we take the time to look within us to find the solutions to our challenges.
We have taken a look at 2 principles that Wellington has in store for us on today's episodes. We will be back in just a bit. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the Well of Inspiration. Today's subject is all about turning stress into motivation. Wellington is giving us principles that we can follow that will allow us to turn our stressful situations and pick different things within them to turn it into a motivational and an inspiring and a positive thing within our lives. A lot of us are going through mental health. A lot of us are going through difficulties in our relationships, in our homes, in our businesses. But today's episode is to try and help you alleviate the stress, change that stress, make it into something motivational for you and those around you as well. You might know somebody who might need to watch this episode, so make sure you do share this episode with them. Now, he's talked to us about the principles that we can follow. There are 5. He's given us the first 2. The first one being recognize the worry for what it is. You care about the situation, because if you did not care about something or that situation that is stressing you out, you would not be stressed. So you need to actually recognize it. It's a feeling. And like Wellington says, feelings are time bound. They do have a moment where they'll actually disappear. Feelings are time bound. He's also talked to us about reframe the situation. Change that situation. Be positive with that situation. He also goes to talk about explore the opportunity that the stress has within it. This is all to do with reframing the situation. So explore the opportunity in the stress. Because if you're not stressed, you're not progressing. If you're stressed, it means you are progressing. So take those different things and put them into play. We're going to go into the third one. Wellington.
Okay, so look, the third one is all about focusing on what you can control. You know what? Personally, I have had the challenge in my life of sometimes spending a lot of time struggling with things that I really cannot control. Sometimes it's spending time trying to think about people that you cannot control. You spend so much time worrying about circumstances or things that you did not create and that you cannot do anything about to get rid of. That heightens your stress. It is not wise to spend time focusing on the things that you yourself have no power over. I would suggest that you consider things that you can control and focus on those. I remember at a certain point in my life when I was dealing with a difficult time, one of my friends gave me an exercise to do. And the exercise was like this. Everything that I have on my mind, I had to put them in 2 lists. One list was a list of things that I can control. Another list was a list of things that I could not control. When I was done with this exercise, listing all the things that were troubling me that I could control and listing all the things that were troubling me that I could not control, I then had to take the list of those that I could not control, crush them, and throw them into the bin and forget about them. Literally doing that physically was a mindset shift for me. Because then I was able to shift my mind towards the things that I actually knew I could do something about. And when I started working on the things that I could do something about, one by one, bit by bit, I realized myself getting better and better and stepping out of the stressful situation with every day that passed. My friend, it is important that we pay attention to the things that we can control.
Writing things down has a way of putting things into perspective for us. Doing that list with the things that I can control and those you find a solution for, and the ones that you can't control, you can actually erase them, get rid of them, and know that there's nothing I can do about this, so I'm just going to let it go.
Absolutely, absolutely. The energy shift that happens in that moment is something that lasts with you forever, and it actually changes the way you view your problems in an instant. So this is an exercise I recommend for anybody going through a difficult time right now. Just sit down and do this exercise. Try to figure out what you can control, what you can't control, and really zero in on those things that you can't control. You stand a better chance of getting out of your stressful situation by simply focusing on what you can control. And one thing that I want to highlight is that most of the times you will see that the thing that you can control is usually you. If you try to control other people, it may be a problem because you really do not have control over other people. They might listen to you, they might smile at you, but you may never know whether you can really control them. But you yourself, you know you've got absolute control over your mind, what you think, what you do, and what you get up to every single day. Focus on that, and you will see the change that happens in your life.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I like the way you put it. I think sometimes we think that we have control over those around us or situations that are beyond our control. We think we can fix it or we can have a solution for it. And it's not possible. Like you say, you can only control yourself, how you think, how you act, and you can change those things if they're the reasons that stress is what is building up in your life. For those who are around you, you just have to let it go. Take it and let it go. Let it go with the wind and focus on yourself.
Yes, indeed. And you know, one other wonderful thing that I have discovered to be a game changer is developing around you a network of support. People that can help you navigate through challenges. Now, when I say network of support, sometimes people might feel like, especially men, we might feel like, oh no, now I have to go and sit down and talk to someone about my problem. Not really. Sometimes you get support without necessarily articulating your problem. Why? When you're not feeling good, you've got a friend you can call that you can spend time with doing something that is more fun, something that is enriching for you without necessarily discussing your problems. Because sometimes, if you ask me, discussing my problems is very stressful for me. When I have to go back and relive the situations, relive circumstances, and it ignites certain feelings within me so much that I prefer to spend more time doing positive things with positive people that don't necessarily have me focusing on this particular problem. Eventually, when my mind space is okay, I am then in a good position to speak about it. But it starts from having that network of people, real human beings that you can speak to, that can be with you in certain situations. Sometimes all you need is just a friend to sit with you and watch the sunset. You do not even have to discuss any problems. Okay, but build that network. Have that network of people around you that you can turn to whenever you need. Even if you need a shoulder to cry on, there are people that you can go to. If you need to talk, there are people you can go and sit down and talk to, and do so comfortably and walk out of there feeling so much better. But build that network. And nowadays, it doesn't have to be a physical network. It can be a digital network. There are people around us. It can be just having a coach, someone that you know can speak to you in a safe space where you can open up your heart and speak to them. You can also go for therapy. Therapy is highly recommended, where you go and sit down with a therapist who can help you process your thoughts and figure out what you can do about your situation. Eventually, the solutions to the situation you're dealing with will always come from you.
Wellington, I do think and I do believe that we do need that network. It's so critical for us to even function, despite, even if we're not looking at the stress that we're going through, just for us to function as people, that network is so important. And as you grow, you learn to know those different people that you can pinpoint and go to when the stress actually comes into your life. And when we talk about therapy, I think it's something that has been such a taboo sort of like subject when it comes to being here on the continent, that people say, oh, you only go to a therapy if you're not well, if you feel that you're crazy and stuff. But it has helped so many people, especially in today's generation. If you look at the younger generation who have to deal with a lot of different aspects of stress, it allows them that opportunity. It's like a safe zone that you can go to, and this person may not necessarily know you personally until you go to them for the first time. So you have that ability to be able to talk to them openly without thinking, what are they going to think about me once I tell them my situation or what is stressing me?
100%. And you know, when it comes to this a network of relationship, of supportive relationships, one thing we have to remember as human beings is that it is not nice to just be the person who keeps me in your phone book up until such a time as you're going through a problem, then you call me. Yeah? We've got to nurture the relationship so that it becomes a close enough relationship over time. In other words, we need to make emotional deposits into the relationship as we go, so that when the time comes when you need to make a withdrawal, it is easy for you to make the withdrawal because you've been building that bank account. I'm sorry, I speak like a banker all the time.
But it's it's fantastic. It's a lingo that I've grown to absolutely love from you,
Oh
Wellington.
yeah.
And you're so right when you talk about, having to grow that emotional connection with that person, not only when you need me. Should I have to be there? Let's have a relationship. Let's build on that relationship. And sometimes it's difficult to find, those few people who you can build on those relationships with, but they are there. And once you have them, don't let them go. Be there for them. Allow them to also be able to offload on you as much as you want to offload on them. Share your good moments with them. Let them share theirs with you and build that bond that will allow you to have that very tight network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as much as you want them to be there for you, remember to be there for them when they need you, because it goes both ways. We all go through these difficult challenges, and oftentimes we need that hand, that word, that support. So be there for them.
And I think, Wellington, while we're still here on the network, I think it's very important to put that not everybody needs to know your situation, needs to know what is going on in your life and the stresses that you're going through. It's very critical to know the right people to be able to put in that network of yours that are actually going to give you the support that you need and not going to tear you down.
Surround yourself with positive people, not people who are always complaining about their problems, but who are complaining about things that they cannot control, and they are not doing anything about the things that they actually can control, because then they cannot help you when you're going through something, because they really don't know, they cannot figure out how to deal with things when they're going through them themselves. So it's important that you make sure the right people are in your network, you speak to them, you nurture the relationships, and you make sure it's the right fit for you. Sometimes you don't even have to be friends with this person. Just make sure it's somebody that is trustworthy, who is in a position where you know you can be comfortable having a conversation, comfortable spending time with them, comfortable having them spend time with you, because in those moments is when the relationship is built, and you can then figure out whether they are the right fit for you or not. If someone is not the right fit for you, I'm pretty sure you will know soon enough. Your gut will tell you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you have one more thing that we can do.
Absolutely. So this is my favorite. It's all about getting some stress handling experience. Practice having stress. I find this very interesting.
Okay.
Just like a muscle that we go to the gym to try and build a big muscle, our stress handling ability also can be grown and developed. And you've got to do this deliberately as an individual by putting yourselves in situations that allow you to push yourself a little bit further in your stress handling ability. My favorite way of doing this is to do something new every day, if possible. Something new every week. And to do something scary, something that you're scared of every week. Figure out what is it that you're scared of. Go ahead and do it. And then next week, find something else that you're scared of. And then keep raising the bar up to a point where your system gets used to just handling the stress. Because when it comes to stress, it's not really about the situation. It's about how your body reacts to the way you feel. The feeling of stress, the reality of a problem being there is something you cannot argue with. But the reality of how your body responds to the stressful situation is what you need to be able to manage. The heart palpitations, the tension you feel in your body, those things are within your control. If only you allow yourself to learn a little bit more to handle things at a very high level. Imagine when you are a clerk, starting work, young age, you are just okay. But as you grow and rise in authority and get more responsibilities, more stressful responsibilities, as you grow higher into those places, you realize that your ability to handle stressful situations gets better and better the more responsibility you are given. This is what I'm talking about. Just practice stressful moments. Do things you've never done before. Exercise with heavier weights than you've ever done before. Have a conversation with somebody that you haven't met before. Just go somewhere and talk to strangers and see how it feels. If you've got social anxiety, just going into a space with strangers and having a conversation will literally help you to move away from that condition, which may be difficult for you in social interactions. So just figure out ways of doing things that can help you transform yourself, transition from just being stressed to handling higher levels of stress, so that when the stress comes, you will recognize it, but you won't give it undue attention. You won't allow yourself to be affected by the stress to a point where it becomes a sickness.
Fantastic. So basically, you're overcoming those stresses that are in your life, those different things. By doing something you're scared of, it allows you to overcome that fear. You know, it allows you to see how you react to that situation and allows you to overcome it as well.
And the beauty of it is that you are doing it in a safe environment, voluntarily and by choice. I always give the example of public speaking. Many people are scared of standing in front of people and speaking. But if you take a speaking class or join a Toastmasters, wherever you are, you will realize that after some time, after doing it and getting stressed about it for a while, you become more comfortable. What has happened? You have raised the bar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wellington, these are such fantastic principles to follow if you're trying to change from stress into motivation. So quickly, just going over them again. Recognize worry for what it is. Reframe the stress. Focus on what you can control. Do not focus on what you cannot control. Create a network of support, as well as get some stress handling experience, which is what you've just talked about. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience, Wellington, today on this episode before we wrap it up?
You know what? It's just a reminder that, guys, stress is here with us. It's here to stay. Things will continue to happen. There's changes happening everywhere. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Circumstances hit us in our lives that we do not expect. People that we trust sometimes let us down. When all these things happen, stress comes into our lives, and the stress that happens, we have the power to react to it in the best way possible. And I'm just saying to you, take that stress and turn it into motivation by utilizing it to push you forward. And along the way, learn to handle stress as effectively as you can, so that stress does not become a drawback for you. But if you're going through something that is so difficult that you know you need help, please go out there and get some help. Don't just keep it to yourself, because just holding it inside will actually make things worse for you. Okay, so whatever you're going through, if you feel that it's necessary, please go out there and get some help. Okay, if you feel that you cannot handle it on your own, then please go out there, get some help.
Wellington, thank you so much for this episode. Thank you for changing stress, telling us the different things that we can do to change it from stress to motivation. Because like we say, in a world that we're living in today, so many things affect us. And it's good for us to look at a different way to look at those things that affect us, change them from negative, make them positive. If you do want to know more about the Well of Inspiration, Wellington does have a website, www.wellofinspiration.com. There is his pages on Facebook and as well on Instagram. Don't forget, if this episode has touched you, if there's something that you feel like you need to share, or if there's a question you might have that maybe Wellington has not covered within this episode, place a comment below. We will get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. It could be something that somebody is desperately looking for on how to handle their stress. This could be the episode to change that situation for them. So do share it with your friends and your loved ones. The notification bell is there. Hit it and make sure that you get all the episodes that come through on the Well of Inspiration every time it is released. Wellington, thank you so much. And it's been an absolute pleasure in learning on how to change my stress situation into motivation.
Thank you so much, Dawn. It's been a pleasure being here as well, and I wish you a great week ahead.
And the same to you. I'll catch you next time.
Yes, indeed. You take care.
You too.